Surprise! Did I get anyone that time? See, some surprises can be good, others can be bad. That's the focus today. Some drivers have been surprisingly off in 2024. Expectations are different for every driver. Some teams don't have the resources other teams have. Some drivers don't have the experience other drivers have. Today, I am going to list out 10 drivers who, in my opinion, have surprisingly fallen below expectations this year. We'll start with this sort of top level, top tier. Let's start with Ross Chastain. I'd say he's been a negative surprise. He's won 2 races each of the past 2 seasons. 2 years ago, he was the championship runner-up. This year, he's 16th, the last guy in, just 7 points above the playoff cut line. Only 2 top 5 finishes this season, still looking for that first win on the year. It's been, I'd say, a down year overall for Trackhouse. Really for Chevrolet, outside of Hendrick Motorsports, they don't seem to have the same speed they've had the first 2 years of the Gen 7 era. Chastain 0 wins, 2 top 5s, 7 top 10s are all trending towards being his lowest totals any season since joining Trackhouse. So is this a Trackhouse or Ross Chastain issue? Not necessarily. I think this is a Chevy problem outside of Hendrick, but I've got Ross Chastain as one of the more surprising, disappointing performers thus far. He could very realistically miss the playoffs. That would be a shocker. I've got another big name in this tier, Joey Lagano. He's a 2-time Cup Series champion who now, definitively, is no longer the top dog at Team Penske. Of course, Ryan Blaney, his teammate, won the Cup Series championship this year. I expected Lagano to bounce back. He hasn't. Lagano does have a win. He also has a win in the All-Star race, but his teammate Ryan Blaney has 2 points-paying wins and has nearly double the top 5s and top 10s. Thank goodness Joey Logano has that win because he's 15th in the regular season standings. There's a superstition among Joey Logano fans that he's really good in even-numbered years. Obviously won the title in 2018, 2022. Here we are in 2024, even-number year, and so far we have not seen the fierce, dominant Joey Logano that we've seen in the past. So I would consider Logano surprisingly average this year. He's on my list. My first non-Cup Series driver to make my list is Lane Riggs, Truck Series rookie. I hate to put Lane Riggs on here, but he is the face of that team. Really, I could put that whole number 38 front row Truck Series team in this spot. That's supposed to be a championship contending team, or at the very least a playoff team. They won the title in 2022. Last year made a deep playoff run with Zane Smith. Right now, the number 38 is 16th in the Truck Series points. Like, what? You can't put all of this on Lane Riggs. He's young, he's a rookie. This team also has a rookie crew chief this year. Chris Lawson, who'd been with the 38 previously, is now in Cup working with Justin Haley at Rick Ware. So I get that this isn't the same 38 team from the past few seasons, but still, that sudden of a drop-off is surprising. That's why Lane Riggs and the 38 truck team are on this list. One more in my top tier here. Let's go with John Hunter Nemechek. I did a whole video earlier this last week analyzing Legacy Motor Club's struggles. Nemechek knows how to drive race cars. He won 7 Xfinity races last year. Even this year on a part-time schedule, he has 2 Xfinity wins. But his first year back in Cup has been a huge disappointment. Can't even crack the top 30 in points. As we discussed, this team is still trying to wrap their arms around this new Toyota partnership. They don't have a technical alliance with an established team like Joe Gibbs Racing. They're trying to figure it out largely on their own. It's going to take some time, but that doesn't change the fact that this has been a surprisingly slow start for Toyota's newest key partner team, which means you guys probably saw this coming. My next driver listed is Eric Jones, the other Legacy Motor Club car. Eric Jones has fared a little better than John Hunter Nemechek this year, but I also had much higher expectations of Jones. He's a 3-time Cup winner, a 2-time Southern 500 winner. He won in the 43 car at Darlington just 2 years ago. He's also working with the same crew chief. He's been with Dave Ellens now for close to 3 years, I believe. I expected him to be better than John Hunter Nemechek. What I didn't expect was for Jones to have only 1 top 10 finish nearly 2/3 through the season. I know he missed those 2 races due to injury, may not be 100%. Considering how good Eric Jones was last year without any manufacturer support, this year has been a surprising disappointment. Really for all of Legacy Motor Club. Shoot, I probably could have thrown Jimmy Johnson on this list, but at least Jimmy's been able to finish some races on his part-time schedule this year. Moving on now, let's go back to the Xfinity Series. I think Hailie Deegan's year was certainly surprising. I'm not saying I had high expectations for Degan this year, but I didn't expect her to part ways with her current team halfway through the season. I figured she'd finish out the year, right? Instead, half a season, 0 top 10 finishes. She was the lowest full-time driver in the Xfinity Series standings when they took her out of the seats. Man, we've been waiting for a spark from Hailie Deegan for the first time since her K&N days 4 or 5 years ago. She's still rumored to be a candidate for a top Xfinity Series ride. I don't think we've seen the last of Hailie Deegan, but what we saw this year and how it was cut short was a bit surprising. And sticking with the Xfinity Series, how about Josh Williams for Kaulig? Kaulig Racing has not been sharp this year. AJ Allmendinger doesn't have a win. SVG has 3 wins, but that's because he's a tremendous road course racer. Josh Williams is 18th in Xfinity points. I don't care if this is a down year for Kaulig. That is a very disappointing and I would say surprising result. For years, Josh Williams was known as a guy who could get the most out of mid-pack Xfinity Series equipment. This was supposed to be a pretty darn good shot, and nothing has come from it. That's a surprise. 0 top 5s, well outside of playoff contention. That's not Kaulig. That is a very disappointing surprise. We're nearing the bottom. I don't think there's any arguing these next 3. Austin Dillon has been shockingly terrible this season. I know last season wasn't good either. He was, I think, 29th in points. But as bad as 2023 was, 2024 has been worse in nearly every major statistical category except maybe DNFs. And last season, before this season, was by far the worst year of Austin Dillon's career. We forget, before the last year and a half, Austin Dillon made the playoffs 5 out of 7 seasons. From 2016 to 2022, you could count on Austin Dillon to often win a race, sneak into the postseason. What's happened? What is going on? It goes back, I think, partially to what I talked about with Ross Chastain and Trackhouse's. Most of Chevrolet outside of Hendrick is struggling this year. Down year for RCR, down year for Trackhouse. Stenhouse and JTG have taken a step back. Spire, they've invested a lot. They're just treading water. Austin Dillon perhaps is a victim of Richard Childress Racing not being at their best, but after how bad last season was, I did not expect it to get worse. Somehow it did. That is shocking. Austin Dillon near the bottom of my list. The next driver is Cory LaJoie. Cory LaJoie set expectations very high in the preseason. Remember back in January, Cory LaJoie said this: "If we don't make the playoffs, we'll be pretty frustrated. We're going to surprise some people." And surprise people he did. LaJoie signed a multi-year extension with Spire last year. He's been their anchor. The last thing I expected was for LaJoie to run so poorly this year that the team would move on mid-season or announce that he would be leaving at year's end with potentially years left on his deal. Did not expect that. Did not expect LaJoie to take a step backwards after a fairly promising 2023. Very disappointing, and if you watched my video earlier this week, Cory LaJoie's comments on his podcast make it sound like the future is far from certain. I hope this isn't the last we've seen of Cory LaJoie racing in NASCAR, but I'm not confident LaJoie will be in a full-time ride in any series next season. Coming into this year, if you told me that, I wouldn't have believed you. That is pretty darn surprising, in my opinion. But there's still one more driver whose bad season has been an even bigger surprise: Kyle Busch. Did anyone not see that one coming? Kyle Busch won 3 races last year. I know the second half of the season was not nearly as clean as the first half, but I penciled Kyle Busch in as a playoff lock this past preseason. Boy, do I look foolish. With just 4 regular season races left, Kyle Busch is more than 100 points out. Kyle Busch has won a race every year of his full-time career. We expect him to make the playoffs. All of these streaks are very much in jeopardy here with just a few races to go. Kyle Busch's 20th full-time Cup Series season is shaping up to be easily his worst, and certainly the most disappointing. Based on how last year ended, I didn't expect Busch to come out here and win the title this season, but I expected a win. I expect him to make the playoffs. Everyone does. Let me know down in the comment section below if you agree or disagree with my negative surprise pyramid. It's kind of a pyramid. It's like the opposite of it. It looks like the choose V, kind of. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Is there anyone that's missing from this list who's surprised you in a not so pleasant way this season? Let me know. Let me know if I missed someone down in the comment section below. That's all I've got, folks. Thanks for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe for more NASCAR content and commentary all year long, and a big thank you to my very generous Patreon supporters for keeping the show growing. I'll be back soon. Have a wonderful rest of your weekend, folks. Thanks for watching.